Good morning. You know, there is a tradition in the Christmas story that the wise men did not arrive at Bethlehem until around January 5th or 6th. So here they are still traveling, and we have an opportunity to sit in front of the baby one more time. Sometimes in our Christmas season, Christmas falls on a day where the church staff can take everything down after Christmas Eve. And I'm delighted that this year Christmas was on a Thursday and there was no staff to take down this creche scene, because this is the essence of where we start spiritually. We receive Christ in our hearts through our devotion as a devotion to the baby Jesus. It's a wonderful way to be introduced to this particular avatar through the life of his birth on earth. What an extraordinary occasion. And so we want to take advantage of the image and remember that what all those qualities that come up in us when we see a baby, all those ways in which we recognize vulnerability in ourselves and tenderness in ourselves, and sort of helplessness in ourselves, in that we need to look for guides to move us along on our way spiritually, to bring us into maturity spiritually. But it always starts with that baby notion we get when we're finally awakening. That notion that we get that, wait a minute, I haven't quite seen this world in the way that it really is. I know there's some kind of, we get the notion in our mind, I know that there is some kind of a play here that's making sense. And I want to make sense of it too, so I can live it well. Of course, we understand when Christ said, I am the way, he meant the Christ consciousness was the way. The transcendent energy of the avatars was the way. And not just that we should tune into them and ask their help. We should tune into them and recognize ourselves. And that's a big leap, but it's really what is being asked here. I am the way. The only way we're going to really get in tune with that high transcendent I-ness is to see that it's our reality. It's where we're going. It's who we are. It's what is trying to happen here. And so all the principles that we follow on the spiritual path are about urging us in that direction of recognizing our own divinity. And I'm sure there are many moments when we all say to ourselves, who, me? That's ridiculous. But it's not, and we need to convince ourselves that it's not. It's our destiny. It's our destiny to live transcendent lives and merge, as the chant said this morning, I am the bubble, make me the sea. That's what we're asking. That's what we're asking, that we follow the way of that transcendence and merging into the divine. So we often get it a little backwards, I think. We notice so much more strongly the ways in which we fall down. But you know, those things aren't really us. They're just old habits, and they can be dissipated very readily once we convince ourselves that we are on the pathway to emerging as a divine being. All of us are on that pathway. We're not born into the world except that we have that charge, that we recognize our own divinity. So if it seems outrageous, so be it. You know, our behavior can be outrageous, but our destiny, we need to hold on to that and hold that close and dear like we would hold a baby. We know that that's our destiny. We know that there are guides that can bring us out of the commotion of our minds, out of the tug of ego. The ego gets involved and wants you desperately to see yourself as separate. But when the baby Jesus is born within you, it begins to break through that miasma that you're just your behavior and you're just your past, and gives you an opportunity to reverse things. What I mean by reverse things is see the ways in which you are reflecting your own divinity. See the ways in which you are impelled to do things which help others, which encourage others, which are kind to others. All those qualities, as they are expressed in the world, lift you out of the darkness of the worldly covering that we all seem to have gotten engaged in. And because it's the truth that we are spirit and we are destined, as the baby is destined to grow and to bring his message into the world and to incredibly revolutionize people's understanding of what they're doing here. We are destined also in that direction, so that everything we do that goes in that direction, every feeling that we have that moves in that lighter direction, brings us closer and closer to a recognition. Now, I mean, this is a metaphor I'm going to use. I don't know how valid it is, but it seems to me every uplifting experience that you have by serving others drops, if you're aware, can drop the ego down a little degree, and your spirit can rise, and the ego can drop, and your spirit can rise, and the ego can drop. That's the way I see the process happening. If you keep it attached to you, look how good I am, look what I'm doing. I want everyone to notice what I'm doing. I want to get approval, and I want to get appreciation, and I want to get... That's not the road we want to follow. We want that ego to drop out of the picture. You know, it's a good thing, it's a good motivator, and it's a great motivator on the spiritual path. But we don't want it to try to get the accolades. We want it to drop out of the picture, just sort of fade away, so that transcendent quality can come and fill us up completely. You know, and we want to know what this feels like. We want to know what this looks like. What is this destiny that's in front of us? What is this person that we will become? What is this being that we will become after many, many, many incarnations? Well, we have 5 stories here of what this looks like, how this being might walk in the world. And you remember that wonderful story of Yogananda when he was first, I think it was when he was still first in Boston, and somebody wrote him a letter and they said, "You have got to stop talking about Jesus Christ. I mean, you've got to recognize that he was just a myth. He never existed." And then didn't sign the letter and just sent it to where Master was. And Master tuned in, and he discovered the man in the Boston Public Library. And can you imagine what this was like for that gentleman? He walked right up to him and said, "Why did you write me that letter?" and the fellow was just absolutely astounded. And he went, what letter? He said, "I want you to know that Jesus Christ was absolutely real, absolutely lived, and absolutely did all the things it says in the Bible that he did." And the guy said, "How did you find me?" And Master said, "The same power that animated the life of Jesus animates the life of all and animates the life of myself." And so there it is. Those are the possibilities. And so that is our destiny, to become transparent, to become so high-minded that we're picking up the world from on high instead of picking up the world from below. We're picking it up from a mountaintop. We're seeing the positive. Yogananda always expected, when he lived with his disciples at Mount Washington, that they remain positive. Because he said, if you get into expressing what's wrong, say with the organization, you can make a pretty good long list. I mean, it's not as if it's not true, but it's not helpful, and it's not going in the way. It's not taking that journey, which is so essential. And you know, when Christ chose his disciples, it's really quite an extraordinary story. We hear it all the time, but we maybe don't stop to contemplate it. The fact that he could pick out the different fishermen to ask to come and follow him, and could know, this is what I think, he could know that they would. The ones he chose, he knew they would, because it was said in the scripture that he was come to find the lost, I don't know his tribe, but the lost of Israel, the lost sheep of Israel. And so he recognized those disciples from a past life. And he knew they were, in fact, although superficially not perhaps knowing, but they knew inside, they knew deeply who this was. And the connection was so strong and so magnetic that they gave up their lives as fishermen and came and followed him. He was looking for them in order to take them to the next step. And that is what the story is for us too. And we have 5 gurus waiting to take us to the next step. And when I was preparing for today, I had this wonderful image. I think I put it in the description of what I would talk about. I got this wonderful image of how, after all these years, somehow, the masters just are inside. It's like a shining light, just a shining light inside, which sometimes you can feel and see and get in touch with and talk to them. It's, you know, it's just wonderful, the connection that can be made because of the truth of the journey. because of the truth of the journey. The potential is within us to be the same as them. And so we're alike, and we're magnetized. And the closer we move toward them, the more we'll understand this and feel this. And to feel yourself being transformed is to feel joy, and to feel yourself being transformed, nothing to do with ego at all. It's going in the whole other direction. But it's the way. It's the way that's being spoken of. And I thought yesterday that it's interesting, you know, we talk about the miracles of Jesus. We talk about the healings. Many of these masters did many healings. The thing to look at is the people that they healed. And I would surmise in every case, the people that they healed had begun to identify themselves with their own divinity. They were far along on the journey, and they knew the lady who touched Jesus' garment and needed healing, had been seeking for it for years. She just touched his garment and she was healed. That is because she recognized, yes, this is my destiny, and I am in the river with him, and I will flow along with him. And just that touch and just that receiving brought that healing. So it's bringing ourselves up to receive what the masters have to give us. It's like a lightness of spirit, you know. It has to become a habit. And it's interesting. I mean, I know that we don't want to live with a fake attitude, but we sure want to live with a practiced attitude of lightness, sort of like reminding ourselves every day that we live in this world with a great and glorious purpose. And we can serve ourselves by what comes out of our mouths. We can serve others by what comes out of our mouths. We can serve the masters by what comes out of our mouths. Remember when Christ said to the Pharisees, it's not what goes into a man's mouth, it's what comes out of it. What is your consciousness? Is it getting lighter and lighter each day? It's that lightness of spirit that foretells the advent of transcendence within you. It brings to mind a story, a joke that someone told me. Let's see if I can do this. They were walking along, and they saw a woman reading a book very intently, and she was just so engaged with the book, and she held it in her hand, and she was probably sitting at a cafe, and they were walking by. And they were so intrigued by her engagement with the book that they said, "Wow, what book are you reading?" And she said, "It's a book on antigravity, and I can't put it down." So that's the scientific key. Antigravity. We want to lessen the gravity of our consciousness. We want to raise the natural gravity of our consciousness. And in each lifetime, this is what we're working on. This is what we're trying to do. And no matter what the circumstances, this is what we're trying to do. To arrive at a place where whatever happens, we are in a state of joy, and we are in a state of peace, no matter what happens. So that we're We're on the road of anti-gravity. Let's see where I want to go. You know, when the ego wants to play in the game, which it always does, ego wants to play in this game, and it doesn't want us to get ahead of ourselves. It doesn't know that we have so much power and love on our side. But there's this wonderful image of a man in a boat, and he was pretty edgy. He was out there fishing, and he wasn't having much success, but he also had a tendency to get angry pretty fast, and so he was moving along, and suddenly he was hit. It was foggy, and he was hit by another boat, and he started steaming, and he started yelling, and then he noticed that there was absolutely nobody in the boat. There was no one to shout at. There was no one to feel angry. There was no fisherman there to give him his mind. And that's what it's like for us when we can become less attached to ourselves, less attached to the outcome of anything that we're doing in life, only attached to the Guru and the joy he brings. And so this is all so important for us in this year and the upcoming year, that we learn to live in the way of seeing the high side, feeling the high side, tuning in to the great treasure within. It's here, and we can see them here. Because there is a purpose. We know this. There is a purpose. I like to say Babaji's in charge, and he's really in charge now. He knows what he's doing. As spiritual devotees, we need to get in tune with that and bring out the best in ourselves and everyone, and lighten the gravity of our being, and feel that transcendence in our heart. Thank you.
Gentlemen, I picked out this Whispers from Eternity that I'll share with you. Many doors opened before me at the dawn of thy coming. O Lord, the very earth shone with life when thou camest. The very ground on which I stood thrilled me because of thee. Everywhere dumb matter spoke to me, spirit resurrected by thy touch. All living things swayed in the incense breeze of thy approach, hinting at thy perfume of bliss. The sanctuary of omnipresence was long hidden by the darkness of my indifference. Now, on the revealed courtyard of thy temple, I find thy fountain of joy gaily bubbling. With uplifted palm cups of craving, I catch and drink from the vital waters of thy solace. Lord, I know now that I shall thirst nevermore. Om, peace. Amen. Have some music?